So I managed to extract these parts from my very dead Hitachi laptop. Watch my video on how I managed to extract these parts. I've put the link in the description below. In this video, I'm going to focus on how I managed to convert the laptop monitor into an external screen. So the controller arrived yesterday and I got too excited I didn't do an unboxing video, but I've already opened it up, I've already taken a look, and yes, this is the correct code that I had ordered. Interestingly, it comes with a remote control. We're going to test that later to see whether the remote actually works. This is what the LCD controller looks like. Now, to be honest, I actually have no idea whether the screen actually works, so this was quite a gamble to take with regards to the screen. The controller doesn't come with a charger, so that comes separately, but for now, let's see whether the controller fits with the screen. So we've got the screen with this cable, and we've got the controller board with this cable. Now, it's embarrassing to admit, but I will confess that for the longest time, I was trying to figure out how this would fit. And I'm like, there is no way this would fit with this because it's not going to stay on. And then finally, after staring at this for a while, I realized I should take a look at what's going on here. If I peel this open, as you can see that there's a cable here, and the end of this cable looks the same. So this should be removed and this goes in. It actually took a little bit of time for me to figure this out. So yes, I am embarrassed to admit that, but well, this is the first time I'm taking on this project. That's why I'm not used to this yet. So we're going to carefully remove this cable so that we can fit the cable from the controller board onto the screen. I'm going to put this one side. It's held down with tape, for obvious reasons, so that everything stays in place. We're going to carefully remove that tape, and it has come off very easily. So for the controller board, I'm just going to make sure it faces the same way as it originally did. Pins face up, so the pins should fit like this. I'm just going to bring this closer so you can see how the pins slide in. And I believe that it's also a good idea to put tape down so that it doesn't come off easily. I'm going to borrow the tape from the original cable. Okay, that doesn't quite work. So we're going to get fresh tape to get that stuck down. So the purpose of the tape is just to make sure that this doesn't come off easily. And that's it. So it seems to fit well. And now the only thing to do is to plug the charger in to see whether this works. Now, I have actually ordered a charger separately via an online shopping platform, but it's not here yet, and I'm too excited to try to get this working. So I found a cable for another device where it seems to fit. And to plug this in, I've looked for a charger head. I found a charger head that fits the USB port. And the important thing is we want to make sure that the output current is not very high. According to the recommendations, it should be 3 ampere. This power supply has an output of 3 ampere. Now, the voltage is a little bit low. According to the card that the LCD came with, it should be 12 volts, 3 amperes. This is only 5 volts. So we're not really sure that whether this is going to work. But I think the important thing is that we don't want the current to be too high, because if the current is too high, it might fry the board. And then all that money has gone to waste. So we're going to give this a try and plug this in to see whether it works. Oh, the light is on. And you can see it's come on. It's actually working. I'm so excited. Okay, so now let's try to put in an input to see whether something actually shows up on the screen. So I'm going to grab my laptop real quick. All right, so I've got my laptop And what we're going to do is we're going to try to connect HDMI to HDMI. We're going to gently plug in this HDMI cable into the HDMI port, gently, because everything's exposed. And then we're going to plug this in here. Okay, come, let's take a look. So it looks like it's not detecting it yet. So there are a whole bunch of buttons here. I think, yes, this one's for the source, as you can see. So we're going to switch this to HDMI. And as you can see, it works. So this is actually the same as my laptop screen. I'm so excited. It actually works. I managed to save the laptop screen. Now we have a brand new flat screen and it actually works. Yes! So happy. So now I just got to figure out a way to put the screen together with the board in a casing so that this stays protected while at the same time making the ports accessible. But yes, this project works. I've successfully managed to save my laptop screen and converted it into an external screen that actually works. Woo! So I'm taking this video just to show you if a noob like me can make this happen, so can you. All the best in your future IT projects. So in the spirit of upcycling, recycling and reusing, I found a piece of old styrofoam board at my workplace which the lab techs allowed me to take because it's so old and rotten and ruined, and they already have much better foam boards, and they said they're going to throw this out anyway. I took this home and decided to try if this would work with my monitor, and it's actually quite a good fit. Now, of course, it's not perfect and it's not really a frame, but all I really need is just something to be able to support this board. So what I do is I plan to stick this monitor on one side and we're going to stick the circuit on the other side. Now, to do this, ideally I should have tape, but I've decided to use hot glue because I looked up and it said that it's safe to use hot glue on a circuit board because I couldn't figure out a way to get this circuit to stick onto the styrofoam. I tried using a cardboard enclosure and plastic, but I didn't want to have to stick this onto another piece of board with tape. And since I'm going to hot glue it, I might as well hot glue it directly onto the styrofoam board. So I'm going to stick the board over here first, and I've got my hot glue ready to go. We're going to glue on the edges. So it's only along the edges. We are not going to glue the inside part. And if, let's say I need to, I'll probably use some tape later. Okay, I'm just going to measure it out to see if, to make sure that I do it right up to the edges of the screen. Okay. So this way is down, this way is up. And based on the connection of the wire, I've decided to put white as the back because the white section has a lot less holes, so it looks a lot better. And this is exposed and not covered. I might as well put the nicer side exposed. So, oops, this part is a bit long. So I'm going to stick the connections on this side over here. So for this, I'm going to use a generous amount of hot glue. Let me just measure it again. It's from going to put this right up to the edge. Well, it doesn't really have to be at the edge, but it's just where the connectors would be. So I put it closer to the bottom here because the weight needs to be at the bottom so that's supported by the stand once I get it later. Okay, we're going to let that dry off. And, oops. So the reason why I'm using hot glue is because hot glue is an insulator, it's easy to peel off if needed. Now this part, this is the controller for the board, and these are physical buttons, while this is actually for the remote. Yes, there is a remote and it actually works. I tried. This is the receiver for the remote control. So this part needs to be at the front because if we're watching the screen, we need to point the remote control towards the receiver. If I stick this at the back, obviously the remote control is not going to have to stand at the back of the screen, and that doesn't make any sense. So we're going to try to stick this somewhere in the front, but because of this weird connection, I tried to see if I could figure out how we're going to stick this, and it's a little bit awkward. So I'm going to have to split these wires a bit more to give more space for the bendy part. This set doesn't actually have to face front. I could make it face front, ideally it would be great, but then this becomes really awkward, right? So but if I stick it like this, also, it becomes really awkward, like this. It's very awkward. It's very awkward no matter how I try to arrange it because of the way the wires are arranged. So I feel that I don't really need the buttons to be on the front. I can actually have the buttons at the back because I'll just need to click. So I'm going to put the buttons this way on the side rather than at the bottom because there might be a stand there. I'm not sure what the stand is like yet. And then we're going to stick the receiver facing front. I'm just going to try to position the wires and see which way is the least awkward. It'll be this way because I can tuck the wires in at the back. So we're going to stick it like this. So we're going to stick that here. Okay. Hopefully the hot glue won't mess up with the circuit board. So we're going to test it a bit later to see whether that works. And whoops, yeah, we're not sticking it along the down part. Let's stick it a bit here where the wires won't be so awkward. So we'll stick it along this side. Anyway, if I don't like the position, because this particular glue is quite easy to peel off, I can always stick it out and stick it on again. And there we go. So this is not ideal. It's a temporary board, which will probably become permanent because I'm too lazy to get a new board. But that's pretty much it. And I just need to get a stand to support this. Okay, so now let's test to see whether this works. Let's see the lights on. And it's come on. Okay, we can try to change the signal. Well, I'm not plugged in at the moment, but as long as this comes on, that means that it has worked. Thanks for watching.